For those of you hardcore Resident Evil fans that would simply eat up any piece of shit that this franchise throws at you, I suggest you stop this video right now, for you won't be able to make it through this review without trying to beat your next of kin to death with your nemesis project doll. As a modest Resident Evil fan myself, I began watching this film with little hope because, let's be honest here, the films aren't exactly getting any better, and there is certainly no way that any of the sequels have surpassed Resident Evil 1. The only way a sequel could beat the original Resident Evil is if they remade it scene by scene and added a shitload more tits. Alice, who's looking a lot like Celine so much these days to the point that if I was in the same room as both of them, I probably wouldn't be able to work out which one of the two I was raping. Kicks us off at the point where Afterlife ended with the Arcadia under heavy aerial assault led by a brainwashed Jill Valentine. The ship then goes Titanic, taking Alice with it. If I knew what the film was going to be like, I would have been happy if Retribution had ended there. The whole movie is based around Alice, who after the attack wakes up in an umbrella testing facility, is met with Ada Wong, Albert Wesker's right-hand bitch and also from the game Resident Evil 2, and freelance operatives hired by Wesker, including Luther West, who despite having spent his entire zombie apocalypse campaign hiding out in a prison, has somehow gained an entire practical knowledge of how umbrella technology works, are sent to help Alice and Ada escape. Both parties start at separate points and have to go through several urban zombie-infested training scenarios controlled by the Red Queen before getting to point exit. On their route, Alice and Ada have to take down two Axemen who look like they both spawned from one of Pyramid Head's jizz rags and evil clones of the SWAT team from the first film led by Valentine. Seeing the old cast in the film was a bit of a letdown for me because they weren't and simply were never going to be as good as they were 10 years ago. I imagine it's like fucking your ex after she's had a kid. Yeah, it's still her, but it's very different pussy. The operatives team have their own journey to complete before meeting up with Alice and Ada, but their character development was so bad I simply didn't care. One of the training scenarios is a suburbia which contained clones, one of which was a young girl that was the child of a deceased Alice clone, so naturally the film attempted at this point to add a touch of compassion into it, so Alice took the clone, and despite being taken away by a licker, Alice insisted they delayed the escape to attempt to rescue this clone of many, despite the Jill Valentine team shooting the fuck out the human life in the lift they needed to escape on. The ending to this film was almost insultingly predictable, with a zoom out of our protagonist looking onto a sea of zombies, monsters, and a very let down film critic. This film focuses more on humans trading bullets and zombie tentacle thingies as opposed to waves of the undead, so if you're only in this franchise for the zombies, then stick to the previous films. The Resident Evil series is expanding. For example, the first film was done in the Hive, the second in Raccoon City, the third and fourth went statewide, and this one was done in different countries. I feel that they have traded quantity for quality, and if by rules of attrition this means that Resident Evil 6 will take place on the motherfucking moon. To conclude, I do not recommend this film to anyone who hasn't seen at least the first two films, and to the fans of the Resident Evil film series, you deserve better. However, there was a split moment where I did feel like I was in a video game, but that feeling came crashing down the second I realised that if I was in control of Milla Jovovich, the last thing I'd do is place her in a situation where she'd be munched on by anything other than me.